So this is my first ever camping trip solo. I figured, why not come to Joshua Tree? It's fairly close to home. There's a lot of tourists and a lot of people. So I won't necessarily be out in the middle of nowhere by myself in case something happens.
Hey Paul, can I borrow your Sigma lens really quick?
I thought you were supposed to be in Florida.
I was, but I really need to borrow your Sigma lens.
I guess so.
Thank you, you're the best.
Hey, hold on, I'm still...
What's up, people of YouTube? Welcome to another day in paradise. For those of you guys who are new, my name is Cody McCarty, and today we're going to be talking about the Sigma 35-1.4 lens for Sony FE mounts. Now obviously I'm not still in Florida. This is the last trip. We got blessed with some snow out in Joshua Tree a few days before I have to leave. So Chelsea was very kind in letting me go out and see this thing. We're gonna be hustling to pack up our U-Haul tomorrow. But I'm here to talk to you guys about the Sigma 35-1.4 lens. Paul was kind enough to let me borrow it. I'm very fortunate. If you guys haven't, check out Paul's channel. I'm linking it up above. He's gonna be my partner in crime, and even though I'm moving across the country, you're still gonna see a ton of him. Now, Sony full frame lenses have come far. You have a ton of options and a lot of great ones. So kind of deciding which lens you're gonna go with is super important because lenses aren't cheap. At least the quality ones aren't. 35 millimeters is kind of one of those focal lengths that a lot of people like to shoot. And the 16-35 is a very popular option because you can get super wide and super tight. But personally, I've shifted towards primes because I find that you can do more and get better looks and have more flexibility if you have a nice set of primes. And the 35, I think, fills a hole that everybody who shoots primes should have. Now we're gonna go through some sample video files and sample photos so you guys can kind of see what the field of view is, what compression looks like on the 35 lens. I also brought my 50. We're shooting on my 90 millimeter and we're just gonna run through it. But because it's snowing and because there's so much I wanna see of this and so many stills I wanna capture, I'm gonna focus on that. Me and Paul are gonna talk to you along the fireside. He's gonna talk about why he bought this lens, and we can see if it's a good fit for you.
Now before we continue on, I want to run through some sample images. They're all exposed the same. All the settings in post are the same, but the aperture is different, so you guys can get a sense of shallow depth of field and sharpness. Now at f1.4, the lens is still plenty sharp, it's usable, and you get a very nice shallow depth of field and some good out of focus elements. At f2, it gets a little bit sharper. I usually tend to have my 1.4 lenses at f2 just for that extra sharpness, and usually the subject that you're focusing on, a majority of it will be in focus, where 1.4, it might be slightly out of focus. Now if we go to f2.8, this is usually what your high-end zooms are at. You can see that there's not anywhere near as much shallow depth of field as at 1.4. The f2.8 is good, it lets in a fair amount of light, but this is one of the benefits of primes, is you get that 1.4 for that shallow depth of field and all that extra light. It essentially let me double my shutter speed twice, having it at 1.4, so in low light situations, that's another benefit to 1.4 primes. Now if we go to f4, we don't have a lot out of focus elements, but there is enough out of focus that you have some isolation with your subject, and you have a lot of sharpness. If we go to 5.6, you see that you have a lot more sharpness versus at 1.4. And then if we go all the way up to f8, this is where I found the lens to be the sharpest. So if you're shooting landscapes and stuff like that, you definitely want the lens at f8, just so you can have everything in focus and you can have the sharpest image possible. Now if we go up to f11, it does get a little softer and it's just not as nice. And then at f16, it's about as soft as f2 for what's in focus. All in all, this lens is plenty sharp and anybody would be happy with this 1.4. I would definitely recommend this lens, but let's get back to the trip and talk to Paul and get his opinion.
Come and seal your fate till the end of my days.
Welcome guys to the fireside. Me and Paul are trying something a little bit different. We thought it would be nice to talk to you guys by the campfire. We're trying something different. We're shooting an interview style. We also have 20-mile-an-hour wind gusts, so forgive the audio if it has any issues.
Hope it's good.
Me too. But let's talk a little bit more about the Sigma lens. Since it's Paul's, I figured we could start with Paul and your experience with it.
Absolutely. I mean, the selling point at the time, I only had the 18, the Zeiss 18, and the 90. Had nothing in between. And a lot of times with landscape photography, the 18 millimeter is just too wide. So I needed something kind of in the middle of the focal range.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that I noticed too, is that's why I stuck to the 24-1.4 GM versus 16-35, is I found myself wanting more compression in the shot than the 16. And the 35 offers a very nice compression to, I think, landscape photos. Like, you've made some amazing things. It's honestly been really good. What made you decide to go with the Sigma version though?
The weight was definitely not one of those things, because that lens is not light.
I mean, it's lighter than the 1.2. That's
It's
like
definitely lighter than
double the
1.2.
weight.
It is about double the weight. I've never had a faster lens than a 2.8. And 2.8 is a great aperture. You get shallow depth of field. It's enough for astrophotography, but I wanted a faster lens. So I went with the Sigma because it is a little sharper than the Sony lens.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree from the sample images that I've seen. I can't wait to pull them up in post, but zooming in from it, like, looks really sharp.
Yeah.
Like, really good, and it gives you enough compression that it looks good, kind of compresses that background so you look closer to it, and I just love it. I mean, I have my 90mm, my 24, and there's no middle ground really, so I might be considering a 35 down the road. Just seeing this footage and how it looks in comparison, like, it looks good. It's wide with a little compression. Also, I want to let you guys know right now, me and Paul are shooting two very different videos, but if you guys like to travel, you may want to consider clicking the link right here to check out his video, just because it's going to offer some nice tips on traveling. Can you think of anything that I missed?
We talked about the aperture, the weight, the sharpness. You said it'd be interesting to kind of zoom in and check that out. So far, I've been liking the Sigma color rendition too. I thought maybe it was gonna have like really poor like
Color
colors.
rendition?
Yeah,
Yeah.
color rendition. I thought it was gonna be poor. So far, I've been pretty impressed.
That's something a lot of people don't think about when they're thinking of buying a lens, is color rendition.
Yeah.
Like, that Zeiss Batis look is a real thing. And yeah, you can kind of replicate it in post if you're shooting raw, but like in video, you can't. You can only do so much with
Right.
the mirrorless cameras, like the point and shoot, drawing a blank.
What are we talking about?
The hybrid cameras, there we go.
Gotcha.
You can only do so much in video with hybrid cameras.
Right.
Like, unless you have a cinema rig, then you're using completely different lenses, but the color rendition in video is super important to consider with stills, but video a lot.
Yep.
So that's something that I do agree with you. Sigma has great color rendition.
Yeah, I'm surprised for the price. Like, I've been pretty impressed for the price.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with primes. Primes tend to be very good, and the versatility of zooms is nice. But primes, I'm a prime guy.
Yep.
Now, shooting with this Sigma lens has been a lot of fun, and I'm constantly reminded while shooting with it how heavy it is. That's actually a big discouraging factor for me personally with the backpacking and traveling that I do. Obviously, we get out in the wilderness and weight matters. Paul is gonna be looking super ripped. Carrying this lens, I don't know how he's gonna do it, but he also doesn't have the 100 to 400, which is comparable in weight. That's saying something. The 100 to 400 is probably a little bit more. Whew. The fog is starting to get in my glasses. Let's put these away. I didn't really script this dialogue. It was kind of a last minute decision. I was like, I want to make one more video before I leave. I leave in 2 days to Florida. I don't know when I'm going to be able to use this lens. So I really wanted to get this video done. Once I can review this footage at home a little bit, I'll see the little gaps in the talking points that I missed, and we'll address all that. But in the meanwhile, enjoy Joshua Tree, seeing it in snow. For those of you guys who have managed to make it out here this season for the snow, good for you. It is amazing. I'm envious that you got to see it with even more snow. But right now, a lot of people aren't going to get this opportunity. It is a super rare occurrence, even though it's happened 3 times this year. Climate change, that is becoming a problem. But super blessed that I got to see this before I left, and I couldn't have asked for a better trip with Paul as last trip. Paul. Hey, sorry, I didn't mean to steal you. You weren't busy, right?
I was trying to shoot.
Okay, cool. He's good. Yep. Paul, what do you think for the last trip? We totally thought Yosemite was gonna be it, but honestly, we've been crying about not crying, manly tears.
Boys don't cry.
Men do. Joshua Tree covered in snow. We saw it once. We didn't get to appreciate it because we had to bail because we had to work. It's not as much as that time, but how amazing is this?
It's amazing nonetheless, just to see white in a desert around Joshua Trees.
Totally thought it was going to be gone. We thought we were going to get little patches, which is patchy now, but we found some thick areas, and honestly, I was not expecting any snow, so I'm pretty stoked.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm excited.
Cool. Thank you for letting me borrow this Sigma lens.
Absolutely.
By the way, I really appreciate it. After hearing all that, thank you. This is the best goodbye present I could ever get. Thank you for giving me the Sigma lens. That's so nice of you. Okay, let's go. Before he changes his mind.